The law of emotional intensity is perhaps the single most important law in human relationships, and it correlates with the law of empathy. The law of empathy dictates that when interacting with intense emotions, positive or negative, in another human being, that we regulate and attune our level of sensitivity to the intensity, which correlates with the sacredness. That which is sacred is that which we sacrifice, that which we pivot, that which we respond around. The sacred is always at the center, and everything moves around that which is sacred. Our behavior, our expenditures of money, our time, our attention pivots and moves around the kernel of what is most sacred. What is most sacred is typically the deepest love, the deepest ideal, the beauty, truth, and goodness in Platonic terms, the deepest shame, the deepest pain, the deepest trauma and fear are also the pivot points around which much of the energy allocation of the world revolves. There is an ever-flowing tension between the sacredness of our deepest fears, of our deepest pains and shames. Fear, the anticipation of pains in the past emerging again. Without pain and without time, there is no fear. What we fear and have the most pain around is the separation from what we long for the most. When we long for health, vitality, and integration, we feel pain with a severed arm because it violates that ideal. When we long for beauty, for a sense of symmetry, a sense of grace, a sense of rightness, the petty corruption and violation of those principles disgust us, create pain from the separation from and longing for that which is beautiful, true, good, that which is sacred in its sense. The highest emotional charges surround the positive ideal, that which is most sacred, and the negative pain, and with pain and time, fear. That is part of the probability field, part of the possibility field. Within a dualistic paradigm, the deepest love can be the deepest sorrow. The deepest hope can be the deepest disappointment. Because probability radiates out equally in all directions. Like rings around a sun, around a Saturn, like rings. The same orbit of an object that comes into the light follows through as it goes into the darkness. We identify different symbols with sacredness. When an object has a symbolic significance built up culturally, religiously, in meditation, in dreams, that object is more important than me to me than it is to another. That which is sacred, that which has the intensity, is always respected to some degree by the individual. Sometimes the dark is more protected than the light. Sometimes the fear of humiliation is more sacred because it pivots our time, money, and energy more than our desire for beauty. But it is one of those things. Our deepest fears, our deepest loves, our deepest longings. And there is a deep relationship between the two. When two people interact, it is very common for an interaction to have a certain level of sacredness at a given, and for that sacredness to fluctuate in the expressed intensity of emotions. When one person or both people violate that which is sacred, do not attune to it, do not adjust to it, do not honor it. If I honor truth because I've never told a lie, and you lie to me, you are violating something that is sacred to me. And you are saying that to be close to you, I have to have in my life a gash that mars my sense of beauty. It weakens the relationship. The most intelligent algorithm in relationship is to track and monitor on an ongoing basis the emotional intensities around a given object, around a given subject, around a given word, around a given paradigm, around the structures that are being used, the languages, the habits, the patterns, to understand how each aspect of the relationship touches the strongest emotional terrain within both people, and to follow that back to its inevitable core of beauty, truth, and goodness, seen through different lenses, seen through different beliefs and paradigms, to find at the core that which is most beautiful and sacred to both people, and how the symbology of life, of language, of behavior intersects in the dimension of meaning with that core. When both people recognize the intensity in themselves and in another around the domain that a relationship encounters, and respects it, looks and looks again, attunes and responds, you have a blossoming, you have a celebration, you have a fusion, a symphony, as two people honor the same core in a different way. You have a transcendence of the individual, because I have this symbol for beauty, truth, and goodness, and you have this symbol for beauty, truth, and goodness, but I go beyond my symbol to understand that deeper core, that we're all connecting back to the longing for something beautiful and for the fear of experiencing the pain of separation from that beauty.